Update: wife used my past and secrets against me. Original post: I do not even know how to write this because my head feels like it is splitting in two. I keep hearing the words again and again, and I cannot believe they came out of her mouth. Reposting because there were some grammatical mistakes. We have been married 14 years. We built what I thought was a stable life together. 2 kids, our son, who is 12, and our daughter, who just turned 11. They are my entire world. When I look at them, I feel the kind of love I never knew existed, because the truth is, I never experienced that kind of love as a child myself. That is something my wife has always known about me, though it took years before I could say it out loud. When we first got married, she noticed how I never talked about my parents. She noticed I avoided talking about childhood. She would tell me her stories, warm holiday memories, her parents decorating the house, sibling arguments that turned funny later. I would just nod and smile. She told me she wanted to understand me better, to really know me. Over the years, she kept pressing, until one day she begged me to open up. So I did. 7 years ago, I finally told her everything. I told her I was never meant to be here. I was the 4th child after 3 siblings, a failed contraception baby. An accident, that is the word my parents used. They reminded me constantly that they did not want me. It was not subtle. It was not hidden. It was spoken outright. I told her about the amusement park when I was 9, the day they tried to get rid of me. They left me behind on purpose. I knew it even at that age. They thought I would panic, wander off, disappear. What they did not expect was that I had already memorized the road home. Hours later, they acted like it had been a mistake, like they lost me in the crowd. But I knew what it was. I knew what they had intended. I told her about the night my father wrapped his hands around my throat and squeezed until the world went dark at the edges. I could not breathe. My head felt like it would explode. To this day, I do not know why he let go. Maybe my mother walked in. Maybe something inside him pulled back at the last second. Whatever it was, I lived. Barely, but I lived. I told her about the food, how some nights everyone else ate and I sat there watching. Not because we were poor, we had enough, but because I was excluded. If they bought something good, they shared it among themselves, never with me. I remember sitting at that table as a child, stomach empty, watching them laugh while I pretended not to exist. I told her how they never missed a chance to remind me I was an accident. My parents said it. My siblings picked it up. It became the running joke that I should not exist, that I was the mistake they could not erase. I told her how once they admitted they had planned to abort me but never went through with it. They said it with no hesitation, as if it were a casual piece of trivia, not a dagger to my chest. And I told her about the winter night when my father locked me outside as punishment for something I did not even do. I was maybe 10. It was freezing. I stood out there shivering, crying, my teeth rattling. I honestly thought I would not make it through the night. A neighbor eventually saw me and banged on the door until my mother opened it. That neighbor probably saved me. These are the things I poured out to my wife. It was not easy. I remember shaking as I said them. I remember how exposed I felt, like I had ripped open scars I had carefully hidden for years. She hugged me after. She told me she was glad I trusted her. She promised she would never throw those things back at me. Last night, she broke that promise. We argued. It was stupid. It started with our son's homework. She said I was too soft on him, that I let things slide. I said she was too harsh. It escalated. We were both defensive. One of those arguments where you forget the point and just keep trying to win. And then she said it. She looked straight at me and said, maybe my father should have finished what he started that night. That I don't even deserve to have a family, let alone children. That maybe it would have been better if I had not survived. That I was never wanted anyway, and I was the one who told her so. I froze. I actually thought for a second that I misheard her. But she said it again, calmly, as if she believed she was simply pointing out a truth. I cannot describe what it did to me. I have had cruel things said to me before in my life. I have been insulted, mocked, belittled. I know how to brush words off. But this was different. This was the one person I let into the deepest part of me. She took my pain and turned it into a weapon. I just stood there in silence. I did not even yell back. I could not. It felt like something shattered inside me. The rest of the night I barely spoke. She acted normal, like nothing had happened. I went to the spare bedroom and stayed there. I lay awake the entire night hearing her words over and over, blending with my parents' voices from years ago. Their cruel jokes, their reminders that I was unwanted, all coming back with her voice layered on top. I thought about the rage I carried as a teenager, how I used to wish my mother would die painfully. I thought those feelings were buried deep, but last night she dug them up and threw them right back at me. I cannot move past it. This morning she was cheerful, as if none of it had happened, but I could barely look at her. All I could think was that something inside me had broken. I do not know if it can ever be repaired. Now I am sitting here thinking about divorce, or at least separation. I do not even know how to start. I do not know what lawyer to call. I do not know how to explain to the kids why their parents are breaking apart. Part of me wonders if I am overreacting, if this is just a fight gone too far. But I know myself. I know I am not overreacting, because I cannot imagine ever forgetting what she said. Usually I move on from almost anything. I swallow pain, bury it, keep going. But this is not something I can just swallow. This is different. She went to the deepest wound I have and drove the knife in. I need to say this clearly. I need validation. I need someone to tell me I am not crazy for feeling this broken. I need condolences because I feel like I am spiraling, replaying her words in my head. I thought my past was behind me. I thought I had buried it and moved on. Last night showed me I was wrong. It is not buried, it is alive, and it can be used against me by the very person I trusted most. And I do not know how I could ever forgive that. Now for the top comments before reading the update. First, I'm so incredibly sorry that you were abused by your parents as a child. What you endured growing up is absolutely awful, and my heart breaks for you. It seems odd to me that you described the fight as little, yet she went to such a drastic place as a weapon against you. If she can go that hard over a fairly common point of contention with raising kids, imagine what she'd pull out for something bigger. I know Reddit seems to jump to leave or divorce pretty quickly, but I think leaving would be something to seriously think about. If it were me, I don't know that I'd ever be able to get past it. That was lower than a low blow. My goodness, the hurt she hurled at you. I'm so sorry. Sending you a hug from afar and wishing you find peace in your decision and are able to heal again. Thank you. She believed that I should be more harsh to them, like maybe a little beating to get them to study or shouting at them, while I am more of a cool person and would rather say the same thing 3 times over 3 days if they forgot it. And then we were battling about who does it better. You shouldn't divorce her. Words matter. It's over. I guess so. Thinking of starting with separation so that the children adjust, a few weeks. Then of course I am asking some people for advice regarding lawyers. I opened up to an ex about SA. She used it against me in a fight. I don't open up anymore. Sorry you had what happened to you happen to you. I will try to in a few weeks. Hope you are doing better in life. Now for the update. I waited until Tuesday. She went through the weekend and Monday like nothing had happened. A little colder than usual. Quick with her answers, acting irritated like I was the one who had caused all of this. No apology, not even a hint. It felt like I was carrying something heavy while she just moved around it. By Tuesday afternoon, I couldn't hold it anymore. I asked her to sit down with me. The house was quiet. I told her I needed to talk about what she said during the fight because this wasn't something we could just shrug off. I reminded her that the fight had started because I refused to hit our son while teaching. I told her I don't believe in beating kids, to make them learn, and that she had pushed for it. That's where the argument began, and somehow it slid into something so much uglier. I asked her why she used what I told her in confidence against me. I reminded her that she had asked me to open up years ago and promised she would keep it safe. I asked her why she hugged me back then, if this was where it would end up. At first she was stiff. She said she didn't know what else she was supposed to do at the time. She told me she just tried to act normal, to be supportive, because she didn't know how to handle what I told her. She said she hadn't realized how heavy it all was until later. Her voice was even, like she was just explaining facts. I told her the promise mattered. I said it wasn't about a slip in anger, it was that she reached for the exact things I handed her in trust and turned them against me. I asked her again why. That's when she admitted it. She told me she lost some respect for me after I opened up. I asked what that meant. She said it wasn't one detail, it was the whole picture. She said she had always seen me as solid, someone who could carry weight without bending, the person she leaned on. But after I shared everything, she couldn't stop seeing the breaks under the surface. She said parts of my story made me look fragile to her. Some of the darker pieces, the way those years sat inside me, gave her an uneasy feeling she couldn't shake. Seeing me tear up and feel so nervous and like a wreck made her look very differently at me. She actually used the word ick. She said sometimes when she remembered those things, it got in the way of how she looked at me. I asked if that meant she thought less of me for surviving. She said it wasn't about surviving, it was about how it changed what she expected from me. She admitted she had built an image of me that didn't include those kinds of wounds, and once she knew, she couldn't put that image back. I asked her why she hugged me then, why she told me she wanted to know me fully. She said she didn't know what else to do in the moment. She didn't want to punish me for telling the truth. She said holding me and saying it was okay felt like the only decent response at the time, even though inside she had already started to see me differently. I let that sit, then asked the harder thing. She said she couldn't control herself in that moment, and she reached for what she knew would hurt me most. She said she regretted it and that it would never happen again. What makes this worse is that I've been to therapy. I've done the work. I wasn't unloading on her because I couldn't carry it myself. The only reason she even heard those parts of me was because she demanded it. She insisted I open up, insisted she wanted the whole picture. She told me she wanted to know me fully. And I believed her. I trusted her enough to hand over things I never planned on saying out loud. That's why this betrayal feels so much heavier. It wasn't me blurting out things I couldn't control. It was me handing her pieces of myself because she begged for them, swore she'd hold them safe. And then she took those same pieces and cut me with them. It feels like giving someone your heartbeat because they said they wanted to hold it close, and then watching them drive a knife straight through it. After she said all of that, I just sat there for a while. It was like I'd finally gotten the truth behind everything, but it didn't settle in cleanly. I wasn't shocked anymore, more resigned. I also thought about how it might sound from the outside, like maybe I had dumped too much on her back then. But the truth is, I never sat her down and unloaded everything at once. I gave her my story the way she asked for it, bit by bit, only in response to her questions. If she wanted to know something, I told her. I didn't add anything extra, didn't volunteer random details. And even then, she probably only heard a quarter of what I actually carry. Why was she so intent on me being open and emotionally vulnerable then? I told her I didn't think I could just go back to how things were. I said I felt like the foundation was cracked in a way I couldn't ignore. I told her maybe the only way forward was to separate amicably, quietly, before things got any worse. I said I didn't think I could keep looking at her the same way, not after knowing she could turn something so personal into a weapon. That's when her whole tone shifted. The firmness she had when she explained herself dropped, and she sounded almost panicked. She asked me not to say that, said she didn't want a divorce. She told me she still loved me, that whatever she had done in anger wasn't bigger than the life we had built. She couldn't imagine splitting the kids between us, couldn't imagine them growing up in 2 houses. She told me leaving would scar them more than anything we had been through. I told her love isn't supposed to look like tearing each other apart with the sharpest words we can find. She said she knew that and promised again that it wouldn't happen anymore. She said she had already admitted it was wrong, and she meant it when she said she'd never go there again. She kept circling back to the same point, that we had kids, that they needed us together, that whatever issues we had to fix them without breaking the family apart. She didn't cry, but there was a kind of desperation in her voice, almost like she was afraid I was already out the door and she was trying to pull me back any way she could. She didn't apologize again for what she'd said, not directly, but she kept stressing that it would never happen again, that I shouldn't throw everything away over one mistake. Right now, I haven't made a final decision. I keep going back and forth in my head. Part of me feels like the damage is too deep and I'd be lying to myself if I pretended I could ever really see her the same way again. But another part of me hesitates, because walking away isn't simple when there are kids and years of life tied together. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't leaning more in one direction, the end, than the other, but I'm not there yet. I feel heavy most days, caught between wanting to protect myself and not wanting to tear my family in half. Some moments I think I know what I have to do, then I second guess it. It's draining, but at least writing this down and hearing different perspectives has made me feel less alone in it. Thank you to everyone who's taken the time to read, comment, or even send me a message directly. It means more than I can put into words. I couldn't respond to every single individual, but I have gone through all of the comments, maybe even twice. Thank you, strangers. She wants you to focus on her and the kids more than yourself, and the hurt that she caused you. This should tell you more than anything else. What she did was essentially respond with emotional blackmail and make you think that your actions are the reason the kids are going to be hurt, and that the relationship is potentially falling apart. Literally a narcissistic response. She never apologized? Wow. And blackmailed OP with how he's going to hurt the kids. What a piece of garbage. The worst thing is that she's going to hurt him again. The only option is if she's going to do it as wife or ex. Last story. Got upset my dad won't pay my tuition. I, 22 female, have an incredibly privileged life where my father, 55 male, is well off and helped pay for my siblings' educations, covering whatever loans, grants, scholarships, etc. didn't. I got the same offer from him. However, I got a full ride for undergrad to a school when I was 17. I didn't love the school, but I wasn't going to waste my dad's money going to a different university when I had a free option. In undergrad, I worked 2 jobs to make sure I could cover expenses like rent, food, textbooks, etc., and never took a dime from my dad. Not that I didn't appreciate his offer. The field I'm going into requires a clinical doctorate, 4 years post-undergrad, but obviously that's expensive, so I was planning on taking a few years off just to work full-time and save up. When I mentioned this plan to my dad, he said he would cover the cost. Since I never took money from him for undergrad, I was hesitant, but he pushed the issue and said that if I wanted to go now, he would cover it. So I applied and got into multiple schools. I took the cheapest option, which, even with loans and a graduate assistant position that covered some credit cost, was about $3,000 a semester, with there being 3 semesters within a school year. I checked with my dad again to make sure this was okay, but he was so excited and insisted he would pay. I finished the first year with no problem and have signed up for fall classes. My dad asked to meet with me recently while I'm on break for dinner. He told me he proposed to the woman he's been seeing. In full disclosure, this woman and I don't entirely get along, and she has never approved of him giving me money for school, which she has taken out on me whenever we're around each other. However, I know she makes my father happy. So of course I was thrilled for him and never expressed anything else at the dinner. We talked for a bit about plans for the wedding, and then he offhandedly mentioned that, because he would be paying for the wedding, he wouldn't be able to pay for my next year or 2 of graduate school. I was shocked, then upset, and I expressed that he had said he would pay. He explained that when he had agreed, he didn't have a wedding to plan, and asked why I couldn't just cover my own cost. I said I was planning to pay for my own costs when this all started, and that I was going to save up, and it was his idea for me to go straight from undergrad to grad school. He then got upset and said I was making his engagement about me, and that I was only acting like this because I was mad he was moving on from my mom. My parents have been divorced for a decade, and I don't think I've ever shown signs of being upset when he's dated other people, including who he is seeing currently. I tried to explain that, of course, I was thrilled for him, but that we had a deal and I changed a lot of my life plans around that agreement, and now he's trying to backtrack. When he had agreed, he didn't have a wedding to plan, but he agreed to a wedding knowing he had his kids' grad school to pay for. He gave his word. He should keep it. If he does not, you have every right to be upset. Exactly. He should be talking to his fiancée about his financial commitments. As a full-grown adult, I would think that the fiancé would be mature enough to understand that she's marrying a man who has children, regardless if said children are adults. Therefore, it's on her to understand his financial commitment to you.